Alright everyone, we're back and we have a new video. It's about an AU XR8 today. We're going to apply the principles we talked about in previous videos to this car to show you how to make a little bit of horsepower for free, and I hope you enjoy it. Alright everyone, we're back. It's been a hot minute, and today we're going to talk about free horsepower and how we picked up over a whole second on the quarter mile for free. Literally. I haven't spent any money, although I did have a couple of things to start with. But you'll see as the video progresses. If you like this content, let me know in the comments and leave a like, and I'll keep it coming for you. I first bought this car in October to use as a daily for development for the channel. This is an AU XR8 Series 2. It has the 4-speed auto BTR transmission. It was bone stock with a touch under 350,000 kilometers on the clock, or roughly 220,000 miles for our mates in the US. This AU has had a lot of mechanicals replaced recently after being found in a paddock. It was somewhat of a bar find. We don't like to let the beauties like this go to waste, so we got to work on the resurrection of this Aussie icon. I've gone through and put the correct front bar on, replaced the worn interior components like seat belts, head unit, aircon controls and fascia, dash, lights, and other things like that. The usual headlight bracket cracks required a replacement unit, and I was ready to sort the paint out. As you can see, it was a sorry looking car with chalky white paint and the Series 1 front bar, which was incorrect. This is a 2002 model, which technically I guess is a Series 3, although it says Series 2 on the plates. So I had Terry from Detailing by Terry in Townsville come down, and he put his magic wand over the car. We actually call him the Paint Gandalf, and you can see why here. This once chalky white mismatched XR8 is now looking like a really nice daily, and honestly, I've fallen in love with it. I think it's here to stay. This is where the modifications begin. I got this thing down to the drag strip for a baseline run where I achieved a sorry best of 1588 at 89 mile per hour. Some of you would know that's probably a little bit slower than what you would expect. I did ask the question on my Instagram page, and the majority of you thought it was quicker than that. So, after some investigation, it turns out that the throttle blade was only opening to around 90%. A quick modification to the throttle body itself, and I was away to a 15.6 at 90 mile an hour. After that, I went through the intake, calculating cross-sectional areas and systematically locating and removing the restrictions as followed. I found a nice rubber restrictor with a diameter of 53mm in the airbox lid. This was removed, and retesting netted us a 15.1 at 92 mile per hour. The next restriction in the inlet was the factory math. We gave it a light port, seeing what we could get away with before touching the tune, and were rewarded with a 14.93 at 93.7 mile per hour. Following this, we turned our attention to the throttle body, which is the factory 65mm unit. The 220 kilowatt version of this engine in the Series 3 sedans had a 70mm throttle body. As you can see, I removed half the throttle shaft. This process is called half shafting, along with blending the blade itself, often referred to as knife edging. Although, as you can see, I prefer a round leading edge to promote laminar flow at partial throttle, as well as limiting turbulence from airflow that is trying to move from one side to the other side of the throttle bore across the blade. This drastically improved the available flow area, along with the blending of the hideous edge here, which has reduced turbulent flow within the bore of the throttle body itself. Sometimes small edges protruding into the airstream can disrupt the boundary layer and shut down a much larger portion of the flow area than would seem with the naked eye. So while we did not gain any flow area by blending this edge, we have increased the efficiency of the bore itself, which means more total airflow. These subtle modifications done correctly lend themselves to a throttle body that costs you nothing, but flows well in excess of the factory unit. It is important to remember that the gains made from these intake modifications are directly proportional to the airflow demand. So at a factory power level, gains will obviously be lesser than that of a larger, more efficient 5 litre, which I will show you once we have more airflow demand in another episode. Don't be disappointed though, we picked up another tenth and mile per hour here with a 14.86 at 95 mile per hour. Moving on to the intake manifold itself, the 5 litre Explorer and many other factory intakes pose a restriction and imbalance between cylinders. To remedy this, we did some maths and calculated the factory runner cross section to be worth about 5,600 RPM of airflow before its efficiency drops right off. For those who like talking numbers, we are talking about 1.55 square inch of flow area. Given that 1 square inch of flow area in a straight pipe is worth 146 CFM at 100% efficiency, this would mean we have an absolute flow potential of 226 CFM if this was a 100% efficient runner. But it's obviously far from that, as it is a rectangular runner with bends. I'm going to add a picture from a book I have, which is written by David Vizard. It illustrates the difference in flow between runners, and your induction system is only as good as a restriction, and we aren't about restrictions here. If we can help it, we'll fix it. Here you can see the line of sight is horrible on some of the runners, while others being a lot better. After this video, go check out Sean B's YouTube channel. It has an interesting short video on line of sight and flow and intake systems with real tests and results. I'll add the link in the description. We were somewhat limited by manifold design here and had to be cautious not to break through the casting to achieve the area and result we needed. The top half of the manifold received very minimal casting removal as it was already sufficient to feed our needs. We now have enough flow area to make 6,500 RPM worth of steam on this 5 litre, which in terms of area, you can see the difference here. You do not need to go to the size of the gasket here. You can if you like, but you probably won't be going any faster. It is worth mentioning that the runners are quite long in this manifold, and at this point, we would look at reducing runner length to increase usable engine speed. I have a spare manifold to cut up and work on, so stay tuned. Back to the results. This manifold work netted us gains even with the now 11.0 to 1 rich air fuel ratios. Now we were at a 14.81 at 95.5 mile per hour, and with the AFRs tuned and back where they need to be, we saw a 14.6 at 96.7 mile per hour. This run was actually launched, and we predict it has a 14.4 at 97 in it when coupled with our best 60 foot. Now, as I alluded to earlier in this video, I'm yet to spend a cent on this car myself. Granted, you have the tools and a J3 chip lying around. You can make big gains on a budget, and this work can be applied to any car, so get out there and have a go. Now we have a set of GT40Ps, which are the factory heads on the AU XR8. We're going to port these ourselves. There will be a video on it, stay tuned. And we also have a few nice custom cams of my design in the works, while the GT engine and EF head are away at machining. How fast do you think we can go on stock ported heads, intake, throttle body and MAF, etc.? Let me know in the comments, and I look forward to it next time. Now we do have some head porting results for the AU 4 litre engine, the Boss 290 heads which I've done, which flow well in excess of 600 horsepower on the factory valves, and I've secured a few cool parts to put together some more content. Cheers everyone, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and let me know in the comments what you think of the low cost gains, and I'll see you at the track.